glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. This is going to be a response to the stream that the elder apostle Ramlab did. I caught it, a little after it was done, but there was, I believe it was titled, you have the prophets of Yahawah and you have the prophets of Baal, or you have the prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and you have the prophets of Baal. But in any case, I wanted to do a slight response because there was a portion in there as he was going into, and he was pretty much going into the interaction you had between Elijah and the prophets of Baal, all right, recorded in the book of 2 Kings, and pointing out certain key parts in there that you see today, right? Which in this day you have a lot of people that end up worshiping these false gods, right? These other idols, and we call them false gods because when you have the true understanding of the scriptures, you realize that as the scriptures tell you, there's only one true living power, which is Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. These idols are just that, they're idols, okay? However, when people bow down and reverence them, they are really just controlled by different left-hand spirits. That's all it is. It's really just left-hand spirits coming under the guise of different names, okay? And not only do they influence the minds of their worshipers, but they also have certain actions or certain deeds come to pass, and that's what eggs on their worshipers to believing that these are real gods, when in essence they're really just spirits on the left hand side that the Most High has given leeway to, for them to go around and do these things to deceive the people. Okay, now damn, Salakia, I need to do a little something here. This guy going come and interrupt me over here. Oh, he's going, okay, he ain't. All right, that's good. All right, but in any case, right, so, and that's why when you read, for example, the book of, the letter of Jeremiah, right, which was written to the captives in Babylon, right, it was written to the Israelites that were getting taken captive to Babylon. He was forewarning them about the things that they would see there, that they would see a lot of idol worship and so on and so forth, but not to be afraid or even dismayed at them, because the idols themselves are just that. They're just wood, or stone or gold. It's literally just a carving, okay? The idol itself doesn't actually do anything. It's really just those left-hand spirits. But in any case, dealing with this here, as the elder was going into dealing with when the prophets of Baal, which I'm going to read, started to basically you had the competition, right, between Elijah and the prophets of Baal, and they both set up their altars with their sacrifice, and they were going to see who was the true God, right? The God that would basically burn that sacrifice, which, as we're about to read, the prophets of Baal called and called and called, to the point where even Elijah was mocking them, and their God did not answer. No, nothing happened. Why? Because these spirits, because now guess what? Now these prophets of Baal, they had confidence because they were able to do certain things. Like if you deal with because we're not gonna say the left-hand spirits are not real. They are. If you deal with even the time of Egypt, right, the time of the Exodus, the Pharaoh's Magi's were able to perform certain acts to mimic or to try and combat those that were done by Moses and Aaron. However, it got to the point where obviously they couldn't keep up because the Spirit of the Lord, the right hand, is superior to the left. Nevertheless, it doesn't mean that the left hand cannot perform certain things. So coming into this, these prophets of Baal, in their mind, are thinking, well, they've been serving Baal, doing all these heinous sacrifices and so on and so forth. So their God is real, not knowing that it's really just left-hand spirits, which the Most High controls at the end of the day. So you best believe ain't no competition between left-hand spirits and the Most High. It doesn't work that they are his left hand, metaphorically speaking. And the scriptures tell you that the angels tremble in the presence of the Lord. That's left-hand angels, otherwise known as demons, and that's also right-hand angels. So let's read this real quick. This is the book of but the point that I was making was that it reminded me of the precept in Isaiah, the 47th chapter, where it talks about the Lord through the mouth of Isaiah, in essence, kind of replays this role of Elijah mocking these prophets, right? Because he says that the calamity is going to come upon Babylon, and then it says, "Stand now with thine enchantments and with thy sorceries," you know, and it may be right that they may deliver you. Okay, as just like Elijah was mocking these prophets of Baal, and the Lord is going to do the same thing in this time. As a matter of fact, the scriptures tell you in the book of Proverbs, when your calamity cometh upon you, then the Lord is going to laugh and he's going to mock, and that's going to be on an individual level, and it's also going to be on a wider judgment scale, for lack of a better word. So let's get into this real quick. This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 18 verse 25, and it's really a lot of it's very good to read, you know, go back and reread in the history, dealing with the book of Samuel, the book of Kings. You know, there's a lot of information in there. All right. It says, verse 25, "And Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, Choose you one bullock for yourselves, and dress it first, for ye are many, and call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning until noon." So think about that. That's hours. Hours of them and chanting and calling and doing all of these things to call their God. And you sitting here for hours just watching these guys, trying to, you know, light up their ritual, so to speak. It says here, from morning until noon, saying, "O Baal, hear us, Shammai." But there was no voice, nor any that answered. See? And we're going to come back to this verse. It says, "And they leaped upon the altar which was made." Can you imagine that? These bugged out dudes, man. You know what I'm saying? They probably jumping around the altar, doing all types of different ritualistic seances, you know, because remember, right? Calling on your God, it goes beyond, especially when you deal with these nations and the shit they do, it goes beyond just saying the name of your God to invoke the spirit. You know, sometimes like you have certain left-hand groups that they have to draw different symbols on the floor. They gotta actually cut themselves and pour some blood, or use blood to make a certain like star with a circle, you know, stand in a certain position, jump around, you know, start chanting, doing all these kinds of different things, because that's what invokes the spirit of whatever demon that they're calling. So you can imagine what these prophets of Baal were doing, standing at this altar, to the point where they jumping on. Anyway, it says here, it says, "And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is talking, or he is pursuing, or he is in journey, or peradventure he sleepeth and must be awaked." So he was mocking them, right? It says, "And they cried aloud and cut themselves." So if they weren't crying aloud then, you damn sure they were. You damn right they were now, right? You know what I'm saying? So they saying they shit, they demonic shit, and they cried aloud and cut themselves. They pretty much went Super Saiyan. They said, "All right, time for level 2. Bring the knives and start cutting." Okay, but that's all a part of it. So it says here they cut themselves with knives and lancets till the blood gushed out upon them. So can you imagine what that looks like? It's not like a small paper cut where the blood coagulates at the top, and so it looks like a little ball, little bubble. It says to the point where the blood gushed. Okay, it was gushing out of them. It goes on to read, it gushed out upon them, and it came to pass when midday was past, And they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, right? Because when you go into the law, you had the morning oblation and you had the evening oblation. So we would sacrifice to the Lord in the morning, we would sacrifice unto him in the evening. And it's spiritual how they went from the morning all the way up until the time of the evening oblation, and that's when the Lord had it to where Elijah's sacrifice was done. You know, it says that there was neither voice nor any to answer, nor any that regarded. Okay, now them demons, they were there, but tell me one demon that's gonna come up and say, well, hey, look, they're calling me. You know what, Lord? You know, let me just step out there, answer that call real quick. Man, that'll be the day. So now I wanted to read that real quick as a starter, and now I want to go to the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter. Okay, Shalom, Shalom, Yahawah Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatham. Ishmael Muslims be doing the same thing, cutting themselves for Allah. Yeah, and also I know I've seen videos of a lot of the Elamites, you know, the true hardcore Elamites, not the Jake Elamites, the true hardcore Elamites, on some of their high days, right? Their so-called high holy days. You know, they do these things where they the men, you know, they're shirtless and they have these like whips, that look like cat o' nine tails, and they just like whip each other. You know, like sometimes they walk around whipping themselves on the back until they start bleeding and all of these things. You know, looking extremely foolish. You looking at them like, what type of shit is this? The god of sadism or masochism? Like, what the hell y'all doing? But they actually truly believe in that. This is why when the Lord puts us in power, we're gonna set everything in its proper order. All the customs of the people are vain and worthless, and quite frankly ridiculous. Okay, but the customs of serving Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai is a glory. It's honorable. It feels ancient in itself. Okay. Oh shit. Nah, I didn't see that. You had an Edomite that got bit by a rattlesnake. Hey, well, there's a scripture that says that who will pity a charmer that's bitten by, you know, by a serpent? The hell are you doing with a rattlesnake? I haven't seen it. So I don't know what he was trying to do. Maybe he was trying to rebuke the devil out of the snake. You know, he was trying to punish the serpent for what he did in the garden. So he got himself a little rat. Yeah, I'm just joking, man. But yeah. So let's get into this real quick. The book of Isaiah 47. And the part that I want to focus on is Yep, here we go. So the book of Isaiah chapter 47, and I might jump around in parallel with 1 Kings 1 Kings 18, just to drive the point home. It's not a big point, but it's still a point. So this is Isaiah 47 and 8. It says, therefore hear now, and this is referring to Babylon, right? Oh, he was trying to show the Lord was with him. Well, it's pretty apparent. Well, really, the Lord was with him through the left-hand spirits. You know, they gave him a bite. It says, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, and that dwellest carelessly, and sayest in thine heart. Now it's referring on to Babylon. So when and Babylon is the spirit of the land is the spirit of the people, right? So when it says that sayest in thine heart, is referring on to there's a scripture that says that as the way of the ruler or the judge is, so are the ways of the people. So whatever spirit the rulers of this place have, that is the spirit that the land will have, or that they will push upon the people, right? So when you deal with Babylon, which is obviously ruled by Esau, Edom, starting at their elites, that is the spirit that is emitted in this place. So when they say it in their heart, it means that the spirit that you know that they push forth, right? I am and none else beside me, and that's the spirit of what? Pride, of loftiness, of pomp. It says, and I shall not sit as a widow, meaning that when you compare a lady to a widow is a woman that is without a husband. However, there is a connotation or a stigma with widows, and that's why when you read in the scriptures, when it deals with poverty or it deals with the low of society, that those that suffer, you'll notice it talks about the fatherless and it talks about the widows. Why is that? Because what would happen is once the woman gets married, married off, she is now to be taken care of by her husband. So if something happened to her husband, because he would be the protector and provider, he would be the one working and taking care of her and whatever children that they had. So if the husband was not there anymore, it would be difficult for the woman, depending on her situation, to be able to manage, especially if she was married to somebody and, they were okay, but they weren't super rich or any of that sort. Then it would be difficult for her, right? Say her husband was a carpenter, or he was a fisherman, or he was somebody, or a shepherd or whatnot, and he was the one making the daily income, so to speak. If he wasn't there anymore, whether he had debts to pay or he just wasn't there anymore, it would be hard for the widow to be able to provide for herself. Sometimes you would have women that would sell themselves as a result to others that are richer as servants. And sometimes you would have women that would go and sell themselves into prostitution as a means of making money. The average woman doesn't get up one day. Well, here in Babylon, they have that mindset. But in the ancient world, the average woman didn't just get up from a youth and say, I want to grow up to become a harlot or a prostitute. A lot of the times, women ended up in that position due to circumstances. And that's why Yahawah said that the harlots and I think what the publicans and the harlots go into the kingdom before you, because sometimes these harlots actually, they don't necessarily have wicked intentions, but they were indirectly forced into it due to circumstance. And at the time, they thought that was the only way that they could have a means to an end, or take care of themselves or take care of their children. Maybe they were even doing it for their children, because then they would just be out there. And so they end up in it, and they just continue, to go on like that. But like I was saying, with everything, there's a stigma to it, right? You hear a prostitute, you hear a harlot, instinctively, you might think of, a hoe or this or that. And that's because here in this society, that is the energy. Women willingly become hoes, and they do it consciously while they're aware, because they want to and they like it, and they got demons on them. But it was not always the case, especially going back into the ancient world. It wouldn't be that a woman would just jump at the fact that she wanted to become a prostitute. And even the prostitutes back then had more integrity than the non-prostitutes here today. Because you may have a woman that is not in the profession of being a prostitute, but she has the mind of a hoe 10 times more. 10 times more. Okay? But going back to the widows, it would be hard for them. So that's why you even have laws to take care of the widows and the fatherless and the Levites. Okay? Not saying the Levites were poor, but they had their God-given right to a piece of your property. But no, in any case, so going back to Isaiah 47, when you compare a widow to a lady, which a lady would be the mistress of the house. So if you had, for example, Sarah, if you take Sarah, for example, Sarah would have been likened onto the lady of the house, being the wife of Abraham. And Abraham was a very rich man. Abraham was a big man. He wasn't like when you read the story, you might picture just a man and his woman and his nephew and maybe 2 or 3 sheep and goat. Hell no. Okay? Abraham was up there. He was rich. If you went into the residence of Abraham, he was known. He wasn't just a regular, average individual. He would call him a high end or high class. So his wife, his woman, Sarah, would be the lady, because what you would have servants in the house. You would have like a Hagar, which was, basically Sarah's servant, which Abraham laid with to bring forth Ishmael. But all these women and all these other servants in the house, they would have to respect and honor and listen to whatever the lady of the house, in that case would have been Sarah, would have to say. That's why Sarah was able to do whatever she wanted to Hagar. Whooped her ass so bad she fled into the wilderness. Right? And Abraham said, he said, is your handmaid. You do as you see fit. Okay, so there's a separation between, there's a distinction between a lady and a widow. So when you go to the book of Isaiah 47, and it says, verse Slack, I think it's verse 8, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, and sayest in thine heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Because when you read the verse above, it says, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. So that pride has blinded them, and they're not able to see that the Lord is bringing this place down. But let's keep on going. It says, verse 9, but these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, meaning it's going to come in the worst form possible. It says, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Okay, which that's the spirit of Esau. And that's that's that pride of them pushing the Most High out the way and them putting themselves in the seat, basically sitting, as I think is in the book of 2 Thessalonians, sitting in the seat of God, saying that they are God, and that's a serious offense. Verse 11, it says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Verse 12, stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, if so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Right? So similar to the spirit or the event that was taking place with Elijah and the prophets of Baal, as they were calling on Baal, and Elijah was saying, well, maybe just cry out louder. Maybe your God is asleep. Maybe you just got to wake him up. Maybe he's pursuing somebody. So maybe if you call out to him louder, he might hear you, and he might grant you the sacrifice. And just like in Isaiah 47, as Isaiah is saying, right? Well, America or Babylon, stand with your enchantments. Stand with all the sorceries and all the false gods that you've been dealing with since your youth, since your founding, because your founding fathers were Masons anyway. Maybe, peradventure, right? As it says, verse 12, continuing, if so be thou mayest, or thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail, which is a form of mocking, because obviously that's not going to be the case. Second Ezra tells you that, I think is a 16th chapter, that the plagues are sent and who may turn them back. So you're not going to be able to profit or prevail, because the plagues are sent by the Lord, and nobody's going to be able to turn them back. Verse 13, thou art wearied with the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers and the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators, stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. You see? But it's going to be to no avail, because the judgment is already set. And now it's just going to come to pass. The sentence has already gone out, and the Lord is going to bring the judgment to pass. And I want to finish it off with the book of Isaiah 19, because it also echoes pretty much the same sentiment here. Now in Isaiah 19, notice in Isaiah 47, it's talking about America, but it's referred to as Babylon. In Isaiah 19 is also prophesying about America, but it's referred to as Egypt. So this is the book of Isaiah chapter 19, and I'm going to jump straight to the point. Actually, let's start at verse 3. It says, really verse 1. It says, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, which are the chariots, that shall come into Egypt, which reminds me of Zechariah the 5th chapter, right? The chariot, the roll, and it shall enter into the house of the thief. So who's the thief? Esau, Edom. And where's his primary house? America. So it says here, and shall come into Edom, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. See that? Verse 3 says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst of it, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. But guess what? It's all gonna fail. It's not gonna avail. It's not gonna succeed. Why? Because the Lord has determined it so. The same way, because those spirits that they're gonna call on and they're gonna seek to are none other than left-hand spirits that are controlled by the Lord. Same way those spirits that the prophets of Baal were calling and seeking to could not stand against the Lord, because their Lord is the Lord, Yahawah, Bahasham Yahweh Shai. I think it's in the book of James that it says, thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well, for even the devils believe and tremble. So what's up? What's going on there? Moving on, this is the book, jumping on to verse 11. It says, the failure of the Egyptian wisdom, and their wisdom is perverted. Remember in Isaiah 47, I think, yeah, Isaiah 47 says that knowledge, that it hath perverted thee. Verse 11, it says, surely the princes of Zoan are fools. So it's conveying the message that similar to the precept that says, is wisdom no more in Teman, right? So it's conveying the message that their counsels and their sorceries and their enchantments and their calling to their different gods is gonna fail. However, it's speaking in terms of referring to this place as Egypt, but it's talking about America. So that's why it says the princes of Zoan are fools. The counsel of the wise counselors of Pharaoh is become brutish. Okay? It says, how say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of the ancient kings? Because back then, even when dealing with a king, kings would have a court where you would have courtiers, and they would advise the king. They would take care of certain matters. You would have treasurers and advisors and the chief of the armies, and all of them. They would be a part of the king's court, and they would have their discussions about the kingdom, about the state of the realm. You know, well, what's going on here? What are the updates here? What do we want to do about this? Right? So you would also have wise men, like Nebuchadnezzar had wise men in his kingdom. And whenever he would have trouble, or he wanted, either to seek to gain some information through enchantments or divination or anything of that sort, he would call his wise men, and they would be a part of his court. So in this case, it's the Lord is saying those wise men, which get their wisdom from the left-hand side through demons and spirits on the left-hand side, they're going to fail. That's why it's saying, surely the princes of Zoan are fools. And how say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of the ancient kings? Because they're not going to be able to give the answers to the questions that are going to be asked, to give solutions to the problems that they're going to be facing. Verse 12, where are they? Where are thy wise men? And let them tell thee now, and let them know what, what the Lord of hosts hath purposed upon Egypt. The princes of Zoan are become fools. The princes of Noph are deceived, and these are places in Egypt. It says, they have also seduced Egypt, even they that are the stay of the tribes thereof. And a stay is like, how do I put this into words easy to be understood? A stay is likened on to like a security, like when you deal with Proverbs 18:10, it says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous runneth into it and are safe. Something like that is like a stay, like a place you can have a surety. Okay, you can be sure, and you can it's almost like secured. Okay, for lack of a better word. That's kind of like the best I can explain it right now, without being able to go into the blue letter, because I'm reading from the physical book. But as it says here, the Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. All right, and that's pretty much it on that. Yeah, just as I was watching the video, that point stuck out to me, you know, dealing with how the prophets of Baal were calling Khan, like a safe house, the water. So the prophets of Baal were calling onto their gods, but it was to no avail. And Elijah was mocking them, saying, go, try, call louder. Perhaps in doing so, your God may wake up, or he may hear you. He's probably distracted, you know, and which is going to be a similar thing here, as Isaiah was saying in Isaiah 47, when the Lord brings the destruction upon this place, and then he's going to tell them, look, call unto your gods, you know, seek those enchantments. Maybe perhaps it may deliver you, which is going to apply to Babylon, but is also going to apply to these wicked Israelites that decided to put their trust in Jesus Christ, Most High, Christ Blessed, all these other shits, all right, that are not the spirit and power and the correct name of Yahawah Bahasham Yahweh Shai. As it says in the book of Judges, right? Go and call unto those gods, that they may deliver you. Since you gave them the glory, why don't you go to them for help? Don't give them the glory and then come to the Lord. That's like a woman that steps out on you and then she gets in some deep shit and she comes back to you for help. She needs money or she needs help. She's coming to you. Why not go to the dude that you stepped out on your man with? What type of shit is that? We don't play that over here. Okay? And if we don't play that over here, the Lord damn sure don't play that up there. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. As the Passover draws near, you know, make sure you're staying in the right spirit. You're seeing all the things that are happening right now, and it's very, very interesting, the timing of it all. You know, we always have to remember that. We always say that the Lord does a lot of things getting right around the time of the Passover, and now all of a sudden you're hearing a whole lot of stuff, right? A whole lot of things are coming out now as we're getting close to the Passover. So, you know, let's see what the Lord, you know, there's a saying, the Lord works in mysterious ways. So let's see what Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai has in store, you know, for us. Anyway, with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. Until next time.